Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have an amazing guest. This is somebody I met just under a year ago. And man, this guy is awesome. He's so multifaceted. He went from being a solo entrepreneur to somebody managing over hundreds and hundreds of people of staff. And he has done everything. You name it, he's probably touched it, done it, or thought about it at least. He's been in hospitality, casinos, marketing, business consulting, real estate, and now he's also part of BarterPay and also in coaching as well. So please welcome the ever so amazing Matt Hewson.
Fong, thank you very much. I am grateful to be here. I'm excited for this as well. I think that, anytime that I'm able to sit with someone like yourself, even just that last 3 minutes of the intro, I'm more excited than I was prior, right? So I'm ready for this, and I'm excited to kind of, share and interact, and whatever kind of questions you have, let's make sure that I can have an answer for you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Now, for somebody like yourself, you've done so many different things, and you have been successful in so many different things. What is your current thing that you're working towards and passionate about?
Right. Well, and thank you for that. With big wins, there's also big losses. So I think that anybody who has been an entrepreneur or a business owner, my hope is that they've seen some success, but typically you also see some valleys along the way. And, I'm talking to you from Edmonton, Alberta. So, when we look at a current pandemic situation being in the West, it's there's some barriers out there. I think that there's some great resources that people should be able to rely upon, and one of those resources is kind of the thing that I'm doing right now, which is called BarterPay. And what that is it's an e-commerce platform. It's a business-to-business networking group that allows you to utilize the things that you already have as a business owner. So again, your inventory that may be aging, some capacity in your schedule, and leverage that within our system to get you the things that you need. So it is the original form of currency, goats, chicken, switch, but in a modern world. And I'm personally grateful that the technology piece caught up with the mindset and the industry, because I couldn't imagine doing what I'm currently doing, back in the old school fax and carbon copy days, or dot matrix printers and, hey, I have this, right? Like the ticker tape. So we're placed super well. We have the technology, kind of dialed in, which, we were doing this type of conversations before we needed to, right? So I was, I guess, already plugged in, but that's, my thing right now. And, you maybe highlighted a little bit of the history. I really have, become kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, which, some will say is not necessarily the way to go. I've found that being able to help connect dots for individuals and foster that type of relationship has been a great resource for me. And I've been able to kind of grow a network here locally in the Alberta market and globally for, some of my client base, which has been fantastic.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned a few things within that answer there that I need to touch on. First of all, this BarterPay thing sounds like it's something that's been around for a long, long time. Obviously, before even currency was around. But how come this model hasn't been wildly accepted by the masses?
Right. And again, great question. So it really is, for us here specifically, we, when currency was created, the whole need for a thing to be traded kind of went away, right? And that was one of the greatest barriers. Now we've come full circle, allowing people to utilize the platform in order to receive and redeem credits, right? So it operates just like a currency, right? But I think the adoption is becoming prolific, really, and you see it in a cryptocurrency, which we are not, and we want to be completely transparent with that. We're not high risk, high reward in that aspect, right? But it really came down to, we had kind of the course that we had stayed, especially here in the West, where we were oil and gas focused. And because of that, we saw a lift and some successes. And, part of our, biggest challenges, I guess, at the very beginning here is that Albertans and small business owners were quite prosperous, just doing what they were doing and not needing to think outside of the box and be creative thinkers. we were all sleeping on beds of money, because when oil is $130 to $140 a barrel, it's tough not to make money, right? But fast forward to the world of today, and you need to really become a micromanager of your business, and control those costs and expenses, right? And that's truly where we see our biggest successes, right? Is that we, our broker of certainties is really what we like to say, and that's coming from my coach and mentor Mitch Camage. Certainty is something that is a question mark, and of course I smile when I say that, because you typically can't. It's an oxymoron, right? Certainty and question, but really today's world is long-term planning is 30, 60 days rather than 12 months, 24 months, because of local mandates, bylaws, closures, whatever it may be. But yeah, we're grateful that we've been able to plug into the local small, medium-sized business market and kind of re-educate what barter is all about, and organized barter is all about, more importantly, right? Because many companies, many business owners would have done the locker room deal, right? Or the lunchtime handshake, say, hey, I have this, you need that, let's switch, which works sometimes, but it's pretty high risk, because you're utilizing only one service or one business. And, in the world of today, where, certain businesses are shuttering, we'd rather kind of mitigate that risk by, offering up a whole portfolio of businesses rather than just one.
And I gotta say, once I jumped on to BarterPay, I'm very happy to say I got one of my first clients on BarterPay. So it's actually pretty interesting in how that worked out, because lots of people go, hey, this is new. I'm too afraid to jump into this, but you never know what you're going to get, and it's always going to be looking up for you, right?
Right. And again, like, one of our biggest barriers in the past was the change management component, right? People have relationships, they have their team, they have their people, their guy, whatever you want to do with air quotes, right? And we are coming in as the new person on the block, or the new company, which we've been around for 26 years, right? So like, we're not new. We've just slowly migrated to the West as it's made sense for the company, right? And for the brand. So John Porter, our CEO, is a visionary, because again, 25 years ago, to do this type of business would be tremendously difficult, right? But now, because of kind of where we are and the forced change management that's been happening in society and for businesses, it's really, again, highlighted the opportunity that there's, additional layers of cost savings or in income making opportunities as well. That, like, our biggest statement and our biggest value in my mind is that right now everybody is busy in their own way. They may be busy chasing their own tail. They may be busy because they're in, health and wellness. They may be busy because they're frontline workers, whatever it may be. But we're all working differently, which obviously occupies some mind space, right? But for us, we want to be able to put the business owner back in their core cash business, and to focus on that when they need to the most, and allow us to look at the periphery and say, you know what, here's an opportunity over here. Here's an opportunity over here, and for yourself, here's a client 4,000 kilometers away, which would be more difficult to plug into without our ecosystem, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love the concept, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who should reach out and ask for more questions and find out how it could actually help them as well. Now, you mentioned you're jack of all trades and master of none. I would like to say that you're probably master of versatility, because if you weren't versatile, you wouldn't be able to do all that stuff. So aside from versatility, what would you say is one of the most important traits that you acquired or that you have that allowed you to be so successful in so many different industries?
Right. You know what? That is a great question. Again, it's truly, I would think, resiliency or fortitude. Many people now, and again, I'm in my mid 40s, so I'm a little bit longer in the tooth than some, but certainly not a baby boomer. So I do remember, the 80s in Alberta, when kind of the first crash or one of the crashes happened. I opened up one of my first restaurants 10 days before 9/11, which for me personally was kind of the first time my business world changed significantly, because, people were just as scared, and they stayed home then as well, right? So, and that was more of a brick and mortar. So I had some fixed costs that I need to mitigate quite quickly there, right? So the perseverance and fortitude to kind of push through, I think, is something that many people will need to look internally, look inside themselves and say, hey, where am I? What am I doing? And is plan A working, right? And I often smirk a little bit and laugh with some of my clients to say, this pandemic is either going to reignite the entrepreneurial spirit or completely snuff it out, right? There are some long-term business owners that are just simply saying, the world has changed too much. I want to go work for the man or work for a company. Whereas there's others saying now is the time, right? And let's go and make those changes in lifestyle and in commitment and in business to say we can move the needle quite significantly. And we're seeing that now, like obviously chaos breeds opportunity. And I think that, if you look at the business world of today, there are many sectors, many industries that are feeling the chaos right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you kind of set yourself up to go, hey, I want to do all this stuff? Or did you go into one thing and all of a sudden this led to this thing, and then this kind of led to this thing, and then exploded into this thing?
Right. I've never been a firm believer where you put all your eggs in one basket. I did that in the past in my youth. And, again, that was one of my valleys. So I got burned with that. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I said, never again. There will be a foundation and a focus, which is the BarterPay ecosystem, certainly for me. But, I've been able to blur some real estate opportunities and some of the things with, marketing and coaching and strategy. And they've all kind of come together because of the network or the sphere of influence that's been created based off of one another. And I've brought them all together. So, we're matchmakers, really. As you become more of a strategist, more of a coach, you truly are just matchmaking. And it depends on, if they're a good fit for this person or this industry, or, the BarterPay system is tremendous for so many small, medium, even large scale businesses now. That we want to be able to kind of, preach more into a large scale environment, which the pandemic has allowed. Like rarely would I have been able to, touch people in Medicine Hat or in Calgary or in Jasper as often as I am now, because it's simply a start meeting, end meeting, right? And it's more cost effective for all of us. It's more time effective, which is, a priority for myself. And it just seems to be not necessarily better, because I would not wish where we are currently in the world upon anyone. But again, we're here. So complaining about it's not going to change it. Let's, be, those buzzwords, agile, pivot, this, that, and the other. I would just say, make a move, commit, and let's move forward, right? So, and that's something that we've been able to do in BarterPay, because we have been digital, for almost the entire lifespan of the company. And we're creative thinkers, right? We already think outside of the box. That's kind of a prerequisite to work with us, right? So we were able to kind of put in place certain aspects of our business and, again, make those adjustments that were needed when, we had to go digital. And we've seen some tremendous success because of it, which has been great.
Cool. Now, you've gone into you've done real estate, you've done restaurants, you've done casinos, and a whole whack of other stuff. Which one would be was the most scariest for you to get into, and why was that the most scariest?
Yeah, I would say casinos, and it was simply this.
You mean the house doesn't always win?
The house does not always win. And you know what? For me, it was this. I was able to move into. It was a tremendous company. And I'm grateful for the time that I had with them. There was some lifelong partnerships that were created because of it. But for me, I was a restaurateur in my past. And when I moved into the casino business, I was trying to operate a food and beverage outlet in a casino environment as a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And that is not the way to do it. And I didn't find success because of it, right? So, and it was super frustrating to me. I was old dog, new tricks, and it didn't work. Now, that said, it was one of the best opportunities I've ever had. And like I mentioned, I've met some lifelong friends, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah, like, if you asked me, what kind of created the biggest stresses in my life, it was probably that industry at the time. And now, fast forward to where we are, I can't imagine what the casino industry as a whole is going through. And again, obviously they're doing what they need to do in order to achieve success. But yeah, I was grateful for my time, but I was also grateful for the exit.
Mm-hmm. Is there something behind the scenes about casinos that people mostly don't know about that you can actually share?
No, you know what? It's just simply this: high energy, high frequency, and you truly are like, it prints money, right? Like, you're in a business that is there to print money, and it could be, a nickel slot at a time. But it was shocking. Like, I thought that I had seen some large numbers coming from, again, hospitality and nightclubs, and certain event nights in the casino world is just, it's incredible the amount of money that can be exchanged within one building.
Yeah. I was volunteering for a casino once, and I sat there, I'm like, man, this guy just put a whole, like, 2 houses down. Just like that. I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, and that's the thing. And again, like, I've been able to leverage some of those relationships during that time there. Again, like, I would say that I'm a professional networker, and I've kind of created my value based off of the people that I've been able to foster and grow relationships with. And that was, again, one of the biggest takeaways there, is that you would be surprised how unassuming some of the rich, ultra rich are, right? Very casual, very real people. And it's just what they do, right? Like, there are professional gamblers. I would never be one of them, right? But there are those out there that do that for a living. And it's all a game of ones and zeros, right? Like, what I would consider a lot of money to drop down on a table, which again is a mortgage or two, right? That to them it's just an average loss or an average win. And it's, again, it's mentality and mindset, right? So I was taken aback, the first couple of months that I had worked there, just the sheer volume of people that came through the door, plus dollars that also came through. But it was a great experience. Now that I'm out, I can say that it was a great experience for all the learning opportunities and the relationships, but I probably would not go back to that industry.
You mentioned master networker, and you mentioned leveraging relationships. So how does one like yourself build strong relationships with high profile individuals? What's your like 3 steps?
Yeah, my belief, and again, I've shared this before, is that I do consider myself a professional networker. So I was a professional speaker or talker. And what I've noticed as I mature, you need to become that professional listener, right? So you really just need to kind of sit there, be in the moment, and say, okay, where's the value proposition for this individual, for this company, for this board, whoever you're talking to, right? And I've seen some success with it. I've obviously, read it wrong as well in the past too, going, oh, that's not how I thought it would turn out. But again, those takeaways are tremendous for building that resiliency that we spoke of moments ago. And also just, okay, now the next time to walk in and, don't assume, be that listener, I guess, up front. Like, we've all gone into a room, whether or not it's a cold call or a set meeting, and done the quote unquote sales puke, right? You get nervous, you start rambling and ranting, and all of a sudden you're done within 2 minutes and you're not really sure what to do. And I did that again in my youth and early on in my career, but now it's about, tell me a story, share with me, how we came here today, how you are, sitting on the other side of this Zoom call today, or, whatever it may be. But it truly is about, trying to impact them on a relationship first, because the business and the partnership will come after. So
what's your pickup line?
For me now, it's tell me a story.
Cool.
Right. And I don't highlight or talk about where we currently are with the pandemic and health and wellness. I don't talk politics and policy because it's somewhat irrelevant to me. Obviously, we're going to have certain things that align and don't, and this and that. But ultimately, how can I help? Right? Are you a small business owner? Are you where you thought you would be? Which I would say a high percentage. Obviously, none of us personally thought that we would be sitting behind masks, sitting behind a green dot, behind a screen, right, doing business. So, again, for me, it's neither here nor there. This is what it is. And I can go out and knock on doors the way that I used to, but I am enjoying this. I do think, and I'm certain that you can touch on this as well, and please share your thoughts, is I miss a lot of the nonverbal communication, because all we see right now is from the shoulders up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a hand talker, but I'm also a watcher, right? So I don't know if you're as engaged because I can't read a lot of the nonverbal or social cues, right?
Yeah.
We're not distracted, which is great. I think we can all become better listeners because it truly is just you and I. We're not having to worry about background noise or, the restaurant clanging dishes in the kitchen or anything like that. All we have is one another, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But because of that, you need to ensure that you are listening, right? Like don't be off in la la land thinking about something else or your next meeting, because there may be a question that is asked or posed during this time, and you need to make sure that you're present.
Wasn't there a saying back in the day where you could tell a lot about a person by looking at their shoes?
Right. Well, and I actually just got off a previous Zoom call, and it's so funny because for myself, I enjoy fashion. I enjoy cars, although I've never really had a mindset of I'm going to spend a mortgage payment on a vehicle, right? But for all of those individuals, and I value them, right? But we're not driving as much, or we're not pulling up to a business or a restaurant in your $200,000 car to make that kind of impact, right? So I hope that it's not gone are the days, right? But previously, if you were a corporate entity, you wanted to have a corner office in a glass tower with a fancy briefcase and great shoes. Well, you have no idea what kind of shoes I'm wearing right now, and I have to tell you, I'm not wearing any, right? Because I'm looking out the window and thinking, you know what? It's almost sunny out. This is amazing. But I'm home based right now because we can be, and technically we should be, and I'm grateful for that, right? We all would have said 2 years ago, I wish I could spend more time at home with the kids, and we were able to do that. So again, I smile at times, I cry at others, but it really comes down to, you can tell a lot from what people are wearing. But right now, the value proposition is a strong internet signal and good studio lighting, right? That's really kind of the new value proposition. And we talk about that internally to help motivate our teams and our members' teams, right? Staff incentive is big, but it's different now. It looks different. So, if we can do customized ring lights, or, maybe they offset their home or residential internet service, right? That is high value right now to many of those mid-level frontline employees that are working from home and have been forced to.
Yeah, very cool. Now, you deal with a lot of different people and a lot of different businesses. What would you say the main reason why people don't succeed is?
Instant gratification, or the lack thereof. We live in a burn hot, burn fast, burn out society right now. And if you can't make it quick, you think that it's too late, right? And even for myself, in my early 20s, I found some small success, and I rode that wave for almost a decade. And then what did I do in my 30s? Thought that I could duplicate it. And guess what? When you win, you win. When you don't, you don't. But yeah, I think right now, again, fortitude or persistence is something that's somewhat missed, because what we see and what becomes, I guess, top of mind through social media and other media platforms is that, they're overnight successes. You have 20-year-olds making, $100 million, $200 million with 200 million followers on social platforms. Well, that's tough to compete with, but that's first a rarity, no different than, again, coming from Alberta, the professional NHL hockey players. How many kids play hockey versus how many are playing with McDavid right now, right? Exactly. So I think that is one of the biggest barriers, and the biggest, I guess, adjustments that we as a society need to kind of adjust, is that it's okay to be the tortoise in this race, right? So and I love fast action, but I also know when it's time to just, notice the pace of the people and the business around you. And that, again, has been some of our talking points through, our networking meetings or some of our internal member meetings, is that if I'm moving fast and you're moving slow, we're not doing business.
Yes.
So where are we at, right? And, for us internally, and I can only speak to my office for BarterPay, we want to move at the same level as what the business partnership is, and some are going to move really slow right now because that's their comfort level. We appreciate that, but we're also there to add that layer of push or push back to say, hey, let's make this move, let's try it out, and the risk is this, right? And again, we mitigate many of the financial risk, I guess you would say, because we're able to kind of spread the wealth out.
You mentioned about the valleys that you went through, the not so happy times at the casinos and whatnot. What do you do to motivate you to face those challenges day in and day out?
Right. And again, we've chatted about this, Fong, but for me, I don't. The word motivation is fleeting, right? We've seen that in the memes, and we've heard that before. So I focus on just that daily habit, because I am very much, again, high energy. And when I'm high energy, I feel that people will see that I'm motivated, but that energy was created from somewhere, and it wasn't through motivation. It was, okay, let's just get started. So, whether or not you're on day 135 of your fitness regime, or if it's day one, motivation gets you started, but creating the habit or the reoccurring mindset is what's going to continue the path to success, right? So I often talk about with my clients, with my coaching clients as well, is that if, business is a gym membership, and if you only go once a week, all you are is sore. And if it was leg day, you're going to fall down the stairs and make a fool of yourself, right? So if you go fast and hard less often, you're not going to see the same results, and it's going to be far more painful than just being super consistent and making those, 1%, 2%, 5% type increases. And again, like, that's how I've found some success with BarterPay, is that we're not looking for this, oh my God, I'm going to save you $1 million. It's going to be about, if I can save you $10,000 a month and have that being reoccurring over the course of the next 3 years, that can be a bigger impact than that one-time big savings.
I like how you talked about that first leg day or first gym day in your store. That's like the very first coaching session I've ever gotten, and I felt my ego completely ripped apart.
Right. Yeah, I've been there as well, right? Like, posture is big in today's world, right? Because again, you'll see what people act like in social media and online versus who they may be in the real world, right? So like, even for you and I could be 6'5" and 200 and some pounds, whereas I'm not, right? But I married an Italian. She's 5 foot tall, but she's 10 foot tall and bulletproof. So our personalities are big and they work well with one another. But again, we're also mindful about that's only successful in certain types of environments or ecosystems. So I try and kind of dial it down a little bit now and say, hey, let's read the room first and go from there. But coaching is a different world, because you have your ideas and you know what you know. And again, I guess I'm fortunate because I've been diverse in my background, and I've worked for some larger corporations. So, like, if you want to know something about your customer, work for Harley Davidson. My time there, the amount of information that they could capture about their current client base was tremendous, right? And the ability to utilize that in order to share information was tremendous, right? Now, it's again, brave new world for a lot of those, century-old companies, so they're learning new ways as well. But yeah, to me, it's really just about, if you can somewhat stay the course. And the whole fake it till you make it philosophy, I don't believe in. I think you do face it until you make it. So if you're kind of an ostrich and head in sand, you're definitely going to have some pain along the way. But it truly is just, again, like, we're here, we're in it. Let's work our way together if we can. And, BarterPay is certainly a community of small business owners that want to be able to help leverage one another and help one another, right? And that really is kind of the biggest reason why I continue to do what we do with it. It's very much community focused, which is great.
Yeah. You mentioned how your versatility and your experience with all these different things have made you a better coach because you're able to help more and more people. What would you say is the biggest impact that coaching that had on your life?
uh, Becoming humble, figuring out, wait a minute, I'm not who I think I am. Just being able to, again, as long as you're listening and can become a good listener, it really is about, hey, you're absolutely right. Because, I just mentioned, I only know what I know. And I believe that that is true until I'm proven wrong.
Mhm.
Right. So some believe that the world is flat, and that's okay.
Mhm.
I believe differently, right? But coaching along the way, I've had some great mentors, some great coaches, and I'm very much kind of meet force with force,
Mhm.
and they were able to meet my force aggressively enough to say, "Listen, stand down," and now's the time to pause and work that pause and understand that you're not there yet. You will be there if you continue on this path, and it's again slight adjustments. It's course corrections of 1 to 2% that will help solve so many different challenges in your personal and professional life.
Okay, so you're gonna put on your coaching hat for a moment,
Please.
and you're looking at a room full of people in the hospitality business, hotels, restaurants, casinos, whatever it is, and they go, "What do we do? How do we mitigate this whole scenario for the next time?"
So for me, it's this. Some of you will not get out of here alive, plain and simple. So if you want to talk
It's
about,
hard.
yeah, the amount of resource that we have in the food and beverage industry, it has changed. We will most likely never go back. I think that there's going to be a big push when we're able to open up and we get, whether or not it's again vaccines or this or that, it doesn't matter to me. When we're allowed to open up, everyone's going to be excited. We're going to go out. But what's happening right now is that first we're being forced to create habits of ordering online, which we're doing more so and more so. But when we get back out, we're going to go to places that were our favorites. So, like for myself, I was in a business model where I would probably have 8 to 10 coffee meetings every week. And I would go out for lunch 3 to 4 times and maybe 2 to 3 dinners, right? Well, now I actually enjoy this type of scenario. And then what will happen is as we're, continuing our growth and our relationship, then we go out for a lunch. But I'm not going to go out 15 to 18 times a week anymore.
Mhm.
And when I do, it's going to be kind of to those close relationships or top tier, top of mind thinking. So you're going to need to be identifiable as different, right? Company restaurant X is my favorite because, and that could be atmosphere, people, whatever it may be. So is that necessarily unique? No, but the sheer volume I feel is going to kind of dissipate a little bit once we get over the initial excitement of going out and about. And I want to support local. I continue to support local as often as I can. I'm the type of individual that will order online, but we'll still go and pick up so that we mitigate some of those large scale third party apps, right? But that said, it's not about cost, because I have to tell you, just before the pandemic hit here, I was at my gym and working out, and the trainer, who was very, very busy, had an individual walk into our class and drop off a shake, right? Like a smoothie. And she had ordered it standalone from, a third party delivery app, and she spent like $14. So it's not price driven, it's convenience driven, right? And now again, as we move out, it's going to be about where we see these restaurants, and hotels may be a little bit different, but honestly, Airbnb, although it was decimated short term, I think they're going to come out of this as a big winner, because it's less shared space, right? I would much rather take my family out and travel still, but I'd be more likely to stay at a house that I know has a cleaning regimen or a COVID protocol versus a hotel that has so much shared space, right? So personal preference, but that's where I kind of see the food and beverage and hospitality industry, is that you're going to see this big push out. And then at that point, they're going to, society will decide whether or not it's, company A, company B, company C, or if we're just going to help support local, which, for me, my community is local. It's small businesses. I enjoy working with people that I can actually, sit in front of and give them a handshake, which is now a fist bump or a masked awkward smile or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm curious to see. But honestly, it's going to be about, if there's 10,000 restaurateurs in Alberta right now, some of you will not make it out alive. And it's simply because of business practice or core concept.
Do you see a large wave of, say, food trucks because of that?
Yes, and ghost kitchens and things like that, right? Where you'll have multiple brands under one kitchen. And that just, again, like we had talked about that years ago, right? And it's just, again, so funny, talked about it years and years and years ago. We won't need it. The logistics of it. And, fast forward to today, we would be very different people, right? But yeah, food trucks I think will be great. And, like you see so much of the van life culture, and, I think the food programs will move to that as well. And, those who were a little bit ahead of the curve locally that had their brick and mortar store plus a van or a truck are going to be, far better positioned this summer, right? Like it's food truck season almost now here locally, and I'm excited for it.
Just came up with an idea. Is this feasible? A mobile casino where you drive like a sea can and you have a whole bunch of BLTs inside the sea can.
That is a question for AGLC, and I would say the logistics of that, I don't think it would work. But
drop the sea can at like a park, and then they'll go in there for a few hours, and then you take the sea can up.
Again, you're gonna see more compartmentalized spaces, right? Like we went to this whole residentially, commercially, these big wide open rooms, and now all of a sudden we have to be behind plastic, right? So you'll probably see maybe something similar to what you just spoke about, but internally. So, they'll barrier or cordon off 12 VLTs, and that can be a party area for a bachelor or bachelorette party or something like that, right? But yeah, I don't know about mobile. I don't know if the governments would like that much, but.
What would you say over all these years and all the great advice that you've ever gotten? What was the best advice you've ever seen, aside from the listening aspect, because you've mentioned that a few times? So I'm not going to give you an easy out. So
well, and that's good, because I was about to say I was at a multi-day conference, and the keynote speaker walked on, said ask questions and listen, and walked off. But that's very similar to just being a future listener. Outside of that, I guess it would be about, I'm now at an age where 4 quarters are more valuable than 100 pennies. However, starting out and as a small business, you need 100 pennies, because that type of environment, and meaning I need 100 customers to come in as often as they can versus 4 customers or 4 regulars that would come in 5 days a week. Because those 100 customers may increase in frequency, and just if you play a numbers game, you'll see a lift because of that. So market share, market penetration is going to be key. I work in some marketing aspects, but I just find a lot of the social sites very busy, very loud right now. And I market there as well, right? But it really will be pick up a phone, right? Like I've found, and it was one of my coaches, and he was like, Matt, why are you spending time emailing and waiting for a response, or texting and waiting for a response? Just hit dial and you may have the response, right? And you may have to leave a voicemail, certainly, and we appreciate that, right? But I think the voice to voice, or the interaction of that, and hearing my excitement or my distress or my passion is always missed when you just send an SMS, MMS, or email. So I would say pick up the phone, and then from there, be consistent and persistent with it, right? Like if you pick up a cold call and it doesn't work out, well, if it's not a hard no, that means just try me again later, right? And eventually it will happen.
I've been told that no, it's not NO, it's KNOW. I want to know more.
Yeah. Well, and specifically, I've had so many no's in my career, and many of those companies, reached out to me through the pandemic. because they had, obviously we made an impression, and at the time it just wasn't a good fit. And listen, we understand that, we appreciate that, but do we truly understand what the value proposition is, right? And when they're ready, they'll come to us. But like there are certain individuals that I've called after 2 years or 3 years, and they're like, you know what, I was just thinking about you. And that to me is like, just it really is about where success is found, is that it's connecting those dots in this tangled web that we all have as industry right now.
So last formal question for you, and that is, you have the world stage, and you could share one main message that everybody needs to listen to. What would that message be?
I don't know if I'm going to make friends here. Just because we disagree doesn't mean we can't be friends. We are so politicized and polar opposite right now. And, I have my own version of that. And of course, our parents or grandparents will also have their own version of that. And every generation goes through, these, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to the youth of today. I would say simply this: ask questions and listen, and appreciate, and ask questions about religion or health and wellness or vaccines or politics here and there and whatever it may be in the world stage, because realistically, none of us wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to be the bad guy today, right?
Yep.
And others will also say, I'm not here to hurt anybody, but at times, like you ask my wife, and I love her more than anything, I've hurt her with words. Well, I don't wake up that morning and say, hey, I'm going to hurt somebody today, right? So yeah, just know that we need to understand, right? And there's that visual meme nowadays, but it was something that I'd seen 20 years ago, where it was two people looking at the number 6 or 9 depending on their perception.
Yep.
And the comments were always been, neither are wrong, but it's all about a matter of perception. And I will have to say I disagree with that, because that 6 or that 9 was placed there as a 6 or a 9. So you have to look up, not just fight with that person that you're disagreeing with. You need to look up at the landscape around you and say, well, wait a minute, over here is a 7 and over there is an 8. Maybe this is a 6, right? So just because you may feel that you are right, and based off of your perception, I get it. But let's have a chat about that, right? And let's dive a little bit deeper than this keyboard warrior mentality that I guess we have right now, right? Like I'm so happy that we as societies are able to highlight some injustices and all of that. I think social media is tremendous for that, and finding lost children and this and that. But if you just want to disagree with me just so that you can disagree with me, let's have a chat offline, right? Is really what it's about. And I want to get to know that person. Yeah. Maybe I'm just uneducated. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, if I was able to talk to a world stage, I would say, get the top 10 social media influencers to all say, just listen to me for a little bit, and listen to the partner, listen to whoever, because it could be a 6, it could be a 9, but it is one of those things. So which one is it? And that to me, I guess, is the long story long about what I would say is, there is a perception, yes, but there's also reality. And we need to find where that is at this point in time.
Very interesting take on that cartoon. I never looked at it that way. So very good. Now I get to use it and tell people that and go, I'm right.
Like I wish, because it's been the same cartoon for 2 decades, right? And I wish that I actually had suggested that we develop a BarterPay landscape version thereof, and it's kind of a zoomed out version. It's like, oh, it's actually a 6 and here's why, right? Or whatever it may be. But it really, and I speak to I have 2 lovely ladies that are school age, 10 and 6, and I want them to say, no, this is what today. You're going to know something different by the end of today and by tomorrow. But let's look up and look around and say, okay, what have we learned? How did we learn it? And who did we learn it from? And yeah, it's a crazy world that we're living in, because I go on to, a blue or right wing or left-wing, media outlet, and then I go on to the other, and I'm more confused. Like, less information would provide more clarity, right? And that's the world of misdirection, I guess you would say. But yeah, like I would like to know, the middle. If we could provide a middle aspect and see, and understand, right? Because I'm never going to be right if you feel that you are right? And I appreciate that, right? But I want to be able to be, I guess, a strong enough listener, and to be able to hold my tongue and my hands and say, okay, I can appreciate that. And I have a better understanding of your perception. We still may disagree, but that doesn't mean that I can't take you out for a beer afterwards, right? Like, I used to kickbox, and I used to teach for quite some time. And there were, plenty of nights where you would spar, which is practice, and you would have to act out certain things that would hurt an individual. Well, I'm not there to hurt them overall. I'm just simply doing a job or a task. And at the end of it, when the bell rings or the coach says stop, I'm going to be the first one to take you out for a beer, right? Which, again, not right now. We'd have to go for a virtual beer. But yeah, I'm grateful that we're all here, and I'm healthy. My family's healthy, and the pandemic has impacted us, but maybe not as close to home or as greatly as others. From a business side, I've been able to, again, kind of be diversified enough that I've been able to weather the storm. And one of the final comments is, and I don't know if you were in one of the chats that I was in, but I had read on, I think it was on Lewis Howe's social media, and it was a statement saying, we are not all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. Some of us have yachts, some of us have battleships, some of us have dinghies. We need to be able to help the other ships out, because we're all in the same storm. And that was really something, because I always use the term, we're all in the same boat. Some of us are going to get to first class, some of us aren't, right? But now, like that, again, I believed I was right until I was proven wrong. And it truly is, like, it's about the resource around you, right? So I think that we, as Albertans right now, are resourceful enough that we're going to find the way to do it. And I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Wow, you debunked a cartoon I've seen for many, many years, and now a quote that I've heard very, many, many times.
There you go.
So awesome.
Some moments. I love
it. Before I let you go, I got 5 quick questions for fun. First of all, picture your lifelong friend, your lifelong best friend. Okay, we have a biopic of you. Who would play your best friend?
Jim Carrey.
Awesome. You have Jim Carrey in your living room. He's hungry. Where are you gonna be serving him?
In my living room, on the couch. We're eating wherever he wants to eat.
Well, he's waiting for food. So what kind of food would you prepare for him?
What type of food? I would provide him a big old sandwich, because I think that he would create an experience just eating that sandwich.
Mm-hmm. If you were stranded on a desert island and you could have one food for the rest of your life, no consequence, what would that be?
No consequence. Well, that changes that.
Yeah, no.
I would say pizza, for sure.
Okay. You mentioned you're a car guy. What car represents you the best?
Sprinter van.
Nice.
But it does have a Sprinter van.
And my last question is, what is success like? Give me a number between 1 to 5.
3.
1, 2, 3. So how is success similar to a spare tire?
I love this. So one of my statements, and I've used this for years, is that as a business partner of mine, I am not here to walk into your business to change the wheel. I'm here to change the tire to help your business run more smoothly. Because a lot of the times you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? You just need to change the tire to make sure that you can to run it. And a lot of the times it's that spare tire that's going to help you out. People run on these 4 tires and don't rotate them enough. And a spare tire is one of the biggest assets that you can have for lifelong success of your vehicle. And in my world, a vehicle is business. So use your spare tire often.
Wow, you picked the perfect one for yourself.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I know you got lots to do and places to go. Yeah, places to go.
Yeah, virtual places to go.
So any last words from you?
You know what? This has been awesome, and I appreciate it. I know that we have chatted for a year about this type of meeting for myself and doing other things as well. And I'm grateful that you plugged me into this, and I hope that I was able to share a little bit of what I believe to be true, whether or not that's wisdom or not, who knows? But I'm thankful. So I appreciate the time.
Great, awesome. And what's the best way to reach out to you if anybody wants to ask more about BarterPay or just tap your brain?
Yeah, email or on LinkedIn. So Matt Hewson on LinkedIn or matt.hewson@barterpay.ca.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So that is it for today. My name is Fong Chua, and he is Matt Hewson. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.